That's extremely important. First of all, other people who are also teachers are going through, you can guarantee, similar things to what you go through. Just knowing that and being reminded of that is often helpful, that you're not alone, that it's part of the job. Just like I was saying about parents being critical. You know, when you just remember, hey, every teacher in the world is putting up with this. It's just part of the job. It makes it so much easier than if you just think, oh, I'm the only one who's got 2 crazy parents this year. You know, or 5 crazy parents this year. If I ever had a year without any crazy parents, it was like, woohoo! Made some cake. So it's good to know that other people are going through something similar, how they've dealt with it, some things that can't be dealt with because it's just part of the job, that just have to be tolerated. And the last thing, I'm going through this rather quickly because we've run over time, but the last thing is remembering that there's ups and downs. Just this morning before I came, I was hearing Prabhupada say about when you're in the Atlantic Ocean, which Prabhupada was in the Atlantic Ocean, not in Jaladuta. And he was saying the waves in the Atlantic Ocean, if you try to stop the waves, that's not possible. So what I'd like to do is read you something that I've personally found to be extremely helpful. To understand, what does it mean to be a devotee? What does it mean to be transcendental? No, I'm not going to read every word of this to you. But we're going to start with Bhagavad Gita 14:22 to 25. And again, I'm not going to read every word. He who does not hate illumination, attachment, and delusion when they are present, or long for them when they disappear, who is unwavering and undisturbed through all these reactions of the material qualities, remaining neutral and transcendental, knowing that the modes alone are active. And then going to the purport, going to the third sentence. When a living entity stays in this material world embodied by the material body, it is to be understood that he is under the control of one of the 3 modes of material nature. When he's actually out of the body, then he's out of the clutches of the material modes of nature. But as long as he's not out of the material body, he should be neutral. He should engage himself in the devotional service of the Lord so that his identity with the material body will automatically be forgotten. So what Prabhupada is saying here is these ups and downs of material life are not going to go away. Sometimes your students are enthusiastic and well-behaved, and sometimes you can't understand why you ever became a teacher at all. Sometimes we've got parents who are supportive, and sometimes they're acting like they're completely nuts. Sometimes you have plenty of time to plan your classes, and you've really done something wonderful and it works. And sometimes you spend a lot of time planning and it doesn't work at all. And other times you didn't have any time to plan and you're running into the classroom late and you're barely getting through the day. And sometimes you're really healthy and full of energy, and sometimes you're sick and you're dragging yourself to your classroom because the kids are there and you can't leave the classroom without a teacher. So I want to read you something here. This is from a Christian writer, C.S. Lewis. This book, The Screwtape Letters, a book I found very helpful. Jayadvaita Swami and Ravinda Sri Prabhu both really enjoyed this book. It's a rather odd book. I'm just going to read you a little section from this. Has no one ever told you about the law of undulation? As spirits, humans belong to the eternal world, but their bodies and minds inhabit time. This means that while their spirit can be directed to an eternal object, their bodies, passions, and imaginations are in continual change, for to be in time means to change. Their nearest approach to constancy, therefore, is undulation, the repeated return to a level from which they repeatedly fall back, a series of troughs and peaks. You can see this undulation in every department of life. Interest in work, affection for friends, physical appetites all go up and down. As long as one lives on earth, periods of emotional and bodily richness and liveliness will alternate with periods of numbness and poverty. One must ask what use God wants to make of the dryness and dullness phase. In God's efforts to get permanent possession of a soul, he relies on the troughs even more than on the peaks. Some of his special favorites have gone through longer and deeper troughs than anyone else. The reason is this: the obedience which God demands is not the absorption of its will into his, the soul's will moment, but quite a different thing. He wants servants who can become sons. He is full and flows over. He wants a world full of beings united to him but still distinct. And that is where the troughs come in. You might wonder why God does not make more use of his power to be sensibly present to human beings in any degree he chooses and at any moment. But the irresistible and the indisputable are the two weapons which the very nature of his desire forbids him to use. Merely to override a human will as his felt presence in any but the faintest and most mitigated degree would most certainly do, would be for him useless. He wants the living beings to be one with him but yet themselves. Merely to cancel them or assimilate them will not serve. He is prepared to do a little overriding at the beginning. He will set them off with communications of his presence which, though faint, seem great to them, with emotional sweetness and easy conquest over temptation. But he never allows this state of affairs to last long. Sooner or later he withdraws, if not in fact, at least from their conscious experience, all those supports and incentives. He leaves the entity to stand up on its own legs, to carry out from the will alone duties which have lost all relish. It is during such trial periods, much more than during the peak periods, that it is growing into the sort of being he wants it to be. Hence the prayers offered in the state of dryness are those which please him best. He wants the living being to learn to walk, and must therefore take away his hand. And if only the will to walk is really there, he is pleased even with their stumbles. Illusion is never more in danger than when a human being, no longer desiring but still intending to do the will of God, looks round upon a universe from which every trace of him seems to have vanished, and asks why he has been forsaken and still living. So the last thing we're doing today is a self-evaluation on these different items. Thank you for your patience with our timing here. So if you could just fill that out now.